Okay. So in today's class, first we'll discuss about CRUD operations in SAP UI5 as well as Fiori. It will be same whether it is UI5 or Fiori, CRUD operations procedure will be same. So say for example, if you are trying to insert a record, if you want to insert a record, then at OData service level, we need to write some piece of code under create entity method. And this OData service will be consumed by UI5 or Fiori So create entity method will be triggered from the front end by using create method in UI5 or Fiori from OData model. And similarly, if you want to update the record, then you have to write the code in update entity method, and update entity method will be triggered by using update method from the front end, UI5 or Fiori. Create method from the front end will execute create entity method in OData service. And update method in the front end, UI5 or Fiori, will execute update entity method in OData service. That is how the framework is designed. And similarly, delete entity method at OData service is executed by using remove method from the front end UI5 or Fiori. And similarly, get entity method is triggered by bind element method from the front end. And then get entity set method at OData service is triggered by using bind rows or bind items. We have used it already. So bind rows or bind items, it is going to execute get entity set method at OData level. So this is how the framework is designed by SAP in order to handle the database operations. In order to handle database operations, the front end and OData service are designed in such a way that it will behave according to this particular diagram. So let me write a note. SAP has designed UI5 or Fiori with OData services to behave according to above diagram. So now let me just highlight these things. So I've already developed with these operations. Let me show that, and after that I'll give step by step. First, let me run the application which contains these CRUD methods. After that, I'll explain step by step. So you can see an application is already developed and it has some coding here. The application is already developed. It contains some coding part for CRUD operations. But first of all, let me run this here. Let me copy this in external browser. And you can see here, there is a form. Here, there is a form. You know how to create a table, how to create a form. You know how to use layouts, how to create row repeater. So already you are very much aware of those things. So here a form is created, and you can see there are some buttons here: insert data, update data, and delete data. There are some buttons here. For each button, I have created one action. So if a user if a user provides some input here, for example, I'm giving some name as Sunil V at ca.com, something like that, and Sunil Kumar, and for example, age 30, and for example, Mumbai. So when I click on insert button, you can see we are getting some alert message here as create successful. And you can also see that record in the database table after refreshing. Now you can see we got the 30-second record, and there is a record with Sunil V at ca.com, and this is a record which you can see in S11. Sunil Kumar, Sunil V at ca.com with Mumbai, age 30. Similarly, if required, I can give a new record here. For example, Alok. So if I click on insert button, so the record is getting inserted inside database table. You can go back and you can refresh here. Now there is a 33rd record here with something like Alok. You can see the first record, Alok at ca.com. So from UI5, we are trying to insert, and that record is inserted into database table by consuming OData ABAP service. You know how to create OData service, and you know how to write insert statement, delete statement, update statement at OData level. Already I've discussed it in the previous classes. So now the only thing is we are trying to use the same service with CRUD operations from the front end. Now, not only inserting a record, say for example, I want to update a record. For example, I want to update Alok record from age 31 and address Pune to some other values. For example, 31 to 45 and Pune to, for example, Chennai. And on update data, we are getting some message as update successful here. And in the database table, you can also verify after refreshing here. Now you can see age is modified from 31 to 45, Pune to Chennai. And not only that, not only updating a record, say for example, I want to delete that record from the database table. Then what you can do is, so you can select, you can provide that record, and if I click on delete button, so then you can see delete is successful here. You can see delete is successful. So that means that record should disappear from database table after refreshing. You can see now. Alok record is missing, and one record is less than the previous one. So for example, I want to delete this something like sunilv@ca.com, then user can provide that here. Only key field is enough. Just key field is enough. So on providing delete option, you can see delete is successful, and it is going to delete the record based on the key field. In our case, it is email ID. And in the database table, after refreshing, now you can see there are only 31 records. Sunil record is missing now in the database table. So technically speaking, I can say create entity method is executed in OData level, but that method is executed by create method from the front end UI5 or Fiori. And update method is executed in the OData level, that is triggered by update method from the front end. And delete entity method is executed at OData level by triggering remove method from the front end. It can be UI5 or Fiori. And in our previous examples, we were trying to execute get entity set method. In previous examples, we were trying to execute get entity set method by using bind rows and bind items method from the front end. So each method in the front end will call a separate method in the OData level. Each method in the front end will call a separate method at OData level that is designed by framework, and it works according to the framework. So let me explain this coding part, how exactly this is working. So what you can do is you can, in step 1, you can create a form. You can create a form. You know how to create a form, so you can do it with required fields. And then step 2, create 3 buttons. You can create 3 buttons. For example, 3 buttons with 3 functions, like insert data function, delete data function, and update data function. So you can create 3 buttons by associating with 3 different functions. So 3 functions I have created: insert data, update data, delete data, etc. Now let us study how insert data function, update data function, delete data function is working here. So implement code in insert data function. Step 4, implement code in update data function. Step 5, implement code in delete data function. But how that code is implemented, what are the things that you need to take care? Let us understand that here. So if you closely observe this particular screen, long back I've told you the behavior of, already the behavior of the form. The form values can be captured by using get value method. The form values can be assigned by using set value method. form values can be captured by using getValue method, and we can assign the values to the form using setValue method. In the previous examples, I've already covered that, the behavior of a form. Now, so first what we need to do as a developer, you need to capture the values from this form. We need to capture values from form. So you can see here in the coding part, let me go to insert data function. So in insert data function, if we closely observe the coding part, this is an insert data function, and here these lines are used to capture the values from the form. I've already covered this point in our previous examples. Form dot get content will return the content. Form dot get content will return the content. That there is nothing new here. And after that, we are using content1 dot get value, content3 dot get value, content5, then content7, etc. We are using here to capture the values from the form. So what I need to do is we need to capture the values from the form, and I'm placing all those values under one OEntry object here. I'm placing the values under OEntry object. Here you can see that. OEntry object. OEntry.email, OEntry.firstname, OEntry.lastname, OEntry.age, OEntry.address. So I'm capturing the values from the form and I'm saving it in the form of one object. So OEntry is an object because you can see this is declared here with flower brackets. That variable is declared with flower brackets. So OEntry is an object here. So we are filling the values into an object. So let me write that simple point. Capture values from form, that is step 1 here. You know how to capture values from form, and assign those values to something like OEntry object. That is step 1. Capture values from form and assign those values to one OEntry object. You can give XYZ object. And then what we are trying to do is here we are trying to consume OData ABAP service. We have to create an object, create which object? Model object, and consume OData ABAP service with service URL. That second step here we have done several times. The same thing we have to do again. You can create a model object. You can create a model object and consume OData ABAP service by providing the service URL. So you are very much aware of this particular step 2. Then, so you can see that. Let me open that coding part. Here you can see we are creating a model object. We are creating model object, and if you closely observe, we are calling one service. We are calling one service Z users project SRV. That is a OData service here. Don't forget that. say OData ABAP service. That is nothing but step 2. One second. So that is nothing but OData service consumption. Very simple. So let me write that. Create model object and consume OData ABAP service with service URL. So OData service means you can't use all the services. You have to use a service which contains the implementation of create entity, delete entity, update entity. Don't forget that. You have to consume a OData ABAP service which contains create entity method implementation, update entity method implementation, and delete entity method implementation. After that, you design the screen CR. So that is what we have done. And in step 3, it's very simple. And this is the only thing that you need to know. This is the only new point in today's class for CRUD operation. So here you can see, if you closely observe this code, we are trying to call a create method in the front end by using the entity set of our OData service, entity set of OData service, and don't forget here we are passing O entry. O entry is nothing but it contains the record values. We are passing that here. That's it. So whichever record is available in O entry object, that we are sending it to OData service via entity set. In this coding, O entry contains the object which is O entry contains the values which is coming from a form. And those values we are sending it to database by using the entity set of OData service. And to execute create entity method, we are just using create method in the front end. So here, this is what you need to do. SAP dot, okay, you need to trigger create method and pass the O entry object which contains form values, which contains form captured values. So don't forget that. So that means here you can see this line is a new point. The remaining things you can easily understand, but this is a new point here. So you are using create method, you are calling create method from the front end UI5. The same code you can also do it from Fiori as well. The same code can be written from Fiori as well. Create method in the front end, pass your entity set and pass the O entry object which contains the form captured values. After that, you can provide the success function here. And in that success function, you put your alert message. Or comma, you can use a failure function here. So this is the code that is implemented in step 3 under insert data function. And if you closely observe, this create is a method in the front end which executes create entity method of OData service. Create method in the front end will execute create entity method of OData service automatically. And then I can say this is our entity set. User set is our entity set. O entry is our object which contains the captured values. If the method is successfully executed, then this function is executed automatically. If the method is failed to execute, then this function will be executed automatically. Success function, whatever the code you write in success function, that is automatically executed if create entity method is successfully executed. And failure function will be executed in the front end if create entity method execution fails. So this is how you need to write. This is a method, and this is an entity set, and this is our record, and this is a success function, and this is a failure function. Very simple. So that's the strategy you need to follow. So now that is the overall code. That's the overall code written here. There is nothing new. And we are just using alert message. Alert create successful, alert create failed. You can see that. Alert create successful, alert create failed. So we are using different alert messages based on the execution of the method. And let us understand what exactly is written in update data function. So in update data function also, in step 1, you need to capture values from form. Under update data function also, we have to capture values from form and assign those values to something like OEntry object. Same like our previous functionality. Capture values from the form and assign those values to OEntry object. So that OEntry object contains the latest values whichever is updated from the screen. OEntry object contains the latest values which is updated in the screen. So, okay, you can see now. Let me go to that function. You can see here, this is update data function. So in update data function, again, we are capturing the values from the form by using content1.getValue, content3.getValue, content5.getValue. So this is one of the strategy I'm using. Okay, if this strategy works, then you can think about other options and you can think about shortcut ways. So content 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. So these are going to capture the values from the form. And don't forget, ultimately, we are passing those values to OEntry object here. We are passing those values to OEntry object. Okay, so that is what we are trying to do here. Capture values from form, assign those values to OEntry object. Then in the next step, you can see we are consuming OData web service. If the model object is already available, if you are using the same service, you need not create model object again and again. If the model object is already created, and if the same service you are using for other functionalities, then you need not create model object again and again. Okay, please remember that. But in my example, to avoid confusion, I started creating object every time, just to follow the rhythm and just to make you understand, in order to make it more simple to students to understand this functionality. So in general, in real time, don't create model object again and again if you are using the same service. The methods may be different, but the service may be same, then you need not create model object and again and again. Only once it is enough. Okay, so please remember that. So step 2, create model object and consume OData ABAP service with service URL. So everyone knows about this. Let me go to step 3, which is important for today's class. So in step 3, what we are trying to do, we are using sap.ui.getCore.getModel, and we have to use update method in the front end. We are using update method in the front end. So this update method in the front end will execute update entities method in the OData service. It will execute update entity method in the OData service as per the framework. And for that, you can see what we are trying to do here. We are passing our input key field value. We are passing our input key field value via entity set. This is our entity set, and the input key field value for updating is email ID, so I'm passing like this. And whatever the values that has to be updated, I'm passing here. Just you can use comma, comma, and you can call success function and failure function. So if you closely observe this, we are passing the entity set name, and we are passing the input key field value for updating, and we are passing the values which are coming to OEntry object for updation purpose. After that, we are handling success message, failure message. So let me write here. Let me copy this line otherwise. So after that, you can use comma separator and you can pass OEntry here. After that, you can use success message or success function, comma, failure function. So you can see now we are calling update method here. This is an entity set of OData service, and this is the key field for updating. We are passing the key field for updating here. In our case, key field is email ID, and OEntry is a record which contains latest values from the screen. OEntry is the object which contains the latest values from the screen, and success function will be triggered automatically if update entity is successfully executed. Failure function is executed automatically if update method failed to execute at OData level. So it's a method that you need to remember. This is an entity set, and this is our input key field value. And this is our latest record values, and this is a success function. Then this is a failure function. So that's the strategy you need to follow. Success function, failure functions are not mandatory. Without that also you can directly test and you can check it in the database level. But for messages, for printing messages, I'm using success function, failure function, so that you can understand whether record is inserted or not, or whether record is updated or not. And similarly, you can see here under delete data function, under delete data function also, what we are trying to do is step 1, we are capturing the input key field value from the form. and assign that value to OEntry object. That is step 1. Capture input key field value. This is for delete data operation. For deleting a record, we are using delete data function. In that, we are capturing input key field value from form. And we are assigning that value to OEntry object. So you can see here in delete record, you can observe here, we are capturing the values from we are capturing the single value, that is email ID value, because that is a key field value. I need not capture all the values for deleting the record. For deleting the record, you need to capture only the key field value of your database table. So in our case, email ID is a key field. So that's the reason why I'm just capturing that email ID. And we're assigning it to OEntry object here. And after that, we are creating model object. We are creating model object and we are consuming OData web service. And then we are trying to call something like remove method here. That is the most important for today's class. We are calling remove method, and this remove method automatically triggers your create entity method at OData service level. It automatically triggers delete entity method, not create. Delete entity method at OData level. So that is how the framework is designed. And while deleting the record, we have to pass our entity set name, and we need to pass our key field value. In our case, the key field value is email, so we are passing that. While deleting the record, we need to pass the key field value, so we are passing that email ID value here via entity set. And after that, we are just using a success function and a failure function here with alert message. So let me write that here. Create model object and consume OData web service with service URL. Step 3, you have to use sap.ui.getCore.getModel dot you have to use remove method. Remove method is a standard method in UI5. This remove method is going to trigger automatically delete entity method of OData web service. In UI5, we use remove. In Fiori also, the same code will work. In Fiori also, we have to write this code under your controllers, not in views. Please remember that. Because controllers will allow the scripting syntaxes. Whatever the code we are writing here, these are all scripting syntaxes. So the same code will work under Fiori when you write the code under controllers. Because controllers in Fiori are scripting files. So here you need to pass your entity set name. You have to pass your entity set name. You have to pass the input key field value, and then you can directly use your success function and failure function. So just let me highlight that. Just let me highlight that here. You can see there is a method remove entity set. This is our input key field value. And this is a success function and this is a failure function. So that's the strategy you have to follow. So let me write a simple note. The above CRUD operations code can be used in theory also by writing the code in controller.js files in theory applications, because controller.js files in theory allows scripting syntaxes. So please remember that. There is no separate technique. The same technique we use it in theory screens, because this is the scripting code which is allowed in controller.js files in theory. Okay, so please remember that. So don't expect the different syntax for theory. What I mean to say is these CRUD methods, remove method, update method, delete method, insert method, these are all common things which we do from either UI5 or theory by writing the code in controller.js file, because controller.js file allows scripting syntaxes. So because this is a scripting syntax, this is a scripting syntax. This is also a scripting syntax. So you can write it in your controllers of either UI5 or something like theory screens. So don't use that above code. Do not use above code in .xml files of theory, because in theory .xml files is for screen designing. So please remember that. Because in theory .xml files is for screen designing. So implement CRUD operations same like UI5 in controller.js files in theory. So please remember that. So what I mean to say is step 3 contains some codes under every operation here. So step 3 coding comes under your scripting, so you can use it as it is in theory, but you should not write in .xml file. You have to write it in controller.js file. That is the point you need to notice. Okay, then so let me tell you how to make use of like a message box. If you want to use message boxes, you can see directly, you can refer the documentation. Let me open that. Just let me give some idea on that. So message boxes will be like sap.ui.commons.messagebox.alert. Already we have used it several times. This is for alert message. We have used it several times. And similarly, sap.ui.commons.messagebox is a class. You can use a method that is confirm. and you can use that for displaying confirmation dialog box. Confirm is a method, alert is a method. Similarly, you can use sap.ui.commons.messagebox.show. Show is a method. And this show method is for displaying three types of messages. Three types of messages. One is success message. It can display a warning message, and it can also display error message. But how it will display? Just let me give some idea, because the code is already available in the documentation. But these are the three things that you need to know before referring to the documentation. Alert is a method, confirm is a method, show is a method, and the show method is main method for displaying these three types of messages. Show method is for displaying three types of messages. One is success, warning, and error message. So you can see here, just let me open that. So you can see under controls, you can see there is a message box. Message box coding, but just observe here. Already we have discussed a alert message. How alert message is displayed, you can see that. We have already discussed that. But if you want to use a confirmation box, in alert message there won't be any icon. If you are using alert method, there won't be any icon on that alert message. Just only message will be displayed with OK button and message. But if I click on confirm, you can see it is trying to display this confirmation message with some question mark icon here. You can see it is displaying with question mark icon, and it is displaying some message, some title, and OK button and cancel button. So this is like a confirmation box with OK, cancel, and there is an icon with question mark, and this is a message you want to display. And here you can see they are internally using confirm method. Please remember that. And say, for example, if you go to show method, which is commonly used for warning, error, and success, there will be icon with warning, there will be icon with error, there will be icon with success. So you can see here. Let me click on this. You can see this is a alert box, this is a message box with show method, and it is showing yellow color icon with a message here. It is showing yellow color icon with this message. So this is by default displaying a warning message here. Warning message. So what it is using, under documentation you can see, just you need to observe one basic point here. Under documentation, if you closely observe, they are using SAP UI Commons messagebox.show. That is important for us. Messagebox.show, and you can see they are using the message, lengthy message, and they are using a lengthy message here, and along with that they are using one icon, sap.ui.commons.messagebox.icon.warning. That's the reason why you're getting yellow color symbol. That's the reason why you're getting yellow color symbol here. So let me write that. use sap.ui.commons.messagebox.icon.warning. Messagebox.icon.warning. Warning should be in uppercase. This is what you need to do. SAP UI Commons messagebox.icon.warning. So what about success message? So you can use like this. Use sap.ui.commons.messagebox.icon.success. It should be in uppercase. You should write as it is. The same code, method will be same. Show is a method. Show is a method, but inside that method, you need to pass icon.success, icon.warning according to requirement. Similarly, you can use sap.ui.commons.messagebox.icon.error. ERROR, icon.error. But method remains same. Show is a method. Inside that show method, we have to pass this icon.error. Of course, you can use some conditions and based on that, print the message. Let me show it directly in the documentation how to make changes. You can see instead of warning, I'm just using with something like success. I'm using success. And you can apply. And when I click on message box now, you can see we are getting a green color symbol with tick mark. After changing it to success here, then you can see green color symbol. In the documentation itself, I have modified some code for testing purpose, just to make you understand. So success, it is going to print your green color symbol. And this is a message. You can use whatever you want. And similarly, you can see in the documentation itself, I'll show it. You can see now, instead of success, I'm changing it to error, ERROR, messagebox.icon.error. So let us apply and let us click on this button. And you can see we are getting something like red color symbol here. Red color symbol, this is a message, and this is the icon.error. We are using icon.error. So just you need to, sometimes you need to just copy paste, but you call this show method according to condition. You call the show method according to your conditions. And similarly, so error is a icon.error that is going to display your red color icon. You can try in your practice. You can try with your practice approach. Then now you can see, say for example, if I use warning, now you can see yellow color symbol that is displayed on your message. But let me try with other option like information, and let me check whether it works or not. So let me try with information, something like this. Apply. Now you can see it is showing something like I symbol. I means information with blue color. Okay, so here we are using icon, and after that we can use a message. And let me write here you can use information message. So you can use sap.ui.commons.messagebox.icon.information. SAP UI Commons messagebox.icon.information. So, but what you can do instead of depending on standard icons, you can pass your images also. I think, I'm not sure, but you can try. Okay, so you can see icon.success, icon.warning, icon.error, icon.information. They are going to display the standard icons which is prescribed by SAP, but if required, you can try with your custom icons. Try that, okay? I am not sure, but I think it may work. Okay, generally messages will be of 4 types: success, warning, error, information. You can satisfy your clients with these 4 messages, but still, if you want, you can try with a custom image by providing that image name instead of icon. So here the main point is show is a method for displaying success, warning, or error, or information. Just remember that. The same method, but icon.success, icon.warning, icon.error, icon.information, you have to use it. So just keep an eye on these 3 things and you can try according to the documentation. And then, okay students, so what I'll do is I'll just give some 10 minutes break, then we'll continue. If you have any doubts, I'll clarify at the end of the session, don't worry. Just take 10 minutes break, then we'll continue, okay? Just don't log off. Okay. What about others? Tina, Suprit Singh. Okay. So let me just try to use this method, show method. So here you can see in my code, here, for example, I'm using sap.ui.commons dot message box dot, I'm using show method here. I'm using show method, sap UI commons dot message box dot show. And for this show method, you can provide your message, for example, record deleted successfully. And you can use one icon, sap.ui.commons.messagebox.icon. You can see something like messagebox.icon, ICON dot. I want to use success here. So then you can use like this one, success. So this is a line we are using. You can use like this in different situations. But you try to use it in real time with some conditions. Okay. You can use these three things based on the conditions in your real-time code. So let me try now. I'm using a icon.success in our code. Let me save it. Let me refresh. And let me go to our screen. Say, for example, I'm selecting a record. And if I click on delete button, now you can see I'm able to get a green color icon because of we are using a success icon in our code. Okay, so remember that. You're getting green color. And similarly, if I use, of course, I'm using both methods. That's the reason why I'm getting alert message and show method. So similarly, for example, if I'm using error, and let us refresh my screen here. After selecting this, I'm clicking delete button. Now you can see we are getting a red color icon here. We are getting red color icon that is for indication of error message. And similarly, you can also use a warning here, warning icon dot warning. Then let me refresh the screen. For example, delete. Now you can see we are able to get a warning symbol here. Okay. And then let me just go with information here, icon dot information. Icon dot information. Let me refresh in the external browser. Let me select here. And now you can see we are getting I, information I. So that is one type of message. Okay. So that is how you can try these lines. Now, let me tell you one important point. So whatever code we have written in SAP UI5, whatever the code, whatever the syntaxes, whatever the techniques we have followed, so all those things which we have used till today, those things can also be used as it is without any change under SAP HANA Studio tool also. I just came across this tool recently. So SAP has provided SAP HANA Studio tool. So that tool is also internally an Eclipse. This tool is also internally an Eclipse. So you can also use this tool for UI5 development. Recently, I came across this tool and I was very much surprised because whatever we do in Eclipse, the same thing as it is without any change in single line, without any change in single step, without change in the procedure, you can develop your applications in HANA Studio tool as well. It's up to you. You can use any tool, either Eclipse or HANA Studio, but what I mean to say is as a trainer, I should say that both are same because I found that they are same. So let me write a simple note. So whatever options, syntaxes, techniques, procedure, step-by-step procedure, etc. So everything is same like what we have done in Eclipse. Is same in SAP HANA Studio tool like what we have done in Eclipse tool. So why? Because I can say SAP HANA Studio tool is internally an Eclipse. Please remember that. Okay. So what I mean to say is you can see, say for example, if you are creating a project, all these options also will be same. You'll get the same option even in HANA Studio tool. You'll get same options as it is. Not only these options, the procedure, techniques, syntaxes, everything will be same. I've already done it in another mission, but if you come across anywhere like HANA Studio, then you need not worry at all. You need not worry at all, and you need not be panic. You can confidently proceed. The only thing is, instead of Eclipse, you can just open HANA Studio tool. Because the only reason is Eclipse is used by SAP and they have added some SAP plugins and they have created it as HANA Studio tool. So SAP HANA Studio tool is internally Eclipse with SAP plugins. So there won't be any surprise there in case of UI5 development. Please notice that. And let me tell you how exactly we go for debugging in front-end applications. From day one, most of the people were asking me debugging technique in UI5 theory or whatever. Already I covered debugging technique in OData services. Now let us understand how we can debug from front-end UI5. So debugging in SAP UI5, or it can be Fiori. So what you do is just observe here. For example, I want to debug this application. I want to know which values are coming to the variables from the form. While inserting the data, I want to know which values are captured from form and how the values are captured. What is the procedure we follow in debugging, so that you'll understand now. You can test it here. So first what I'll do is I want to put a debugger here. Under insert data, I'm putting a debugger here. So debugger is a keyword. I told you to experiment, but most of the people may not have tried because they may not have understood how to proceed with the next line, how to trace the values and etc. So, but here today you will get some more clarity. When I use a debugger is a keyword where the execution will stop automatically at that line. Debugger is a keyword. Your execution will stop at that particular line. From there, you can debug line by line by using F10. When the debugger is encountered, the execution of the application will stop in the browser. So as a developer, you can use F10 to debug line by line from the debugging point. So I just kept a debugger keyword here, and let me test it now. So let me test from external browser. Under insert function, I've kept a debugger keyword. So let me open this URL in external browser. Okay. Now what you need to do is first press F12. First you can press F12. It will open this. It will open this. And you can see here, I want to know what are the values that are coming to O entry. So you can type that here. So you can see I'm trying to press F12. After that, whichever variables you want to trace. So those values you can trace by putting those variable name. For example, I want to know what is the value coming to O entry. I want to know what exactly is coming to O entry object. So you can use a variable here. Now left side, this is our screen. Left side I'm providing some email ID, for example, something like Suprit Singh. suprit@ca.com, and let me provide some values. Suprit, age for example 30, and example Punjab. So as a developer, I'm providing some values here under our input fields. Now when I click on insert button, now you can see your right side of the screen, it is stopping the execution of the application at a debugger point here. It is stopping the execution at our debugging point. You can see that. I provided some values here. I clicked on insert button and the execution is stopped here on debugger. You can see that line. It is stopped. Now I want to trace the values what is coming to this O entry. I want to trace the values whichever is coming to a O entry object here. Then you can see here now. Let me proceed. If I want to go to the next line from the debugger keyword, if I want to go to the next line, then you can see okay, at this point, O entry is not having any value. You can see here, no value at this point of time. But say for example, if I go to next line, that means F10. If I press F10, you can see O entry, still it is not having anything. It is still under execution. You can see that. It's not having any value. But say for example, if I go to next line again, then I can say It will try to display O entry, and you can see under O entry at this point of time, content1.getValue is executed, and content1.getValue is trying to display the value under debugger here, because content1.getValue is email value. You can see that here. Similarly, let me go to the next line. So F10, now you can see here first name is Suprit. F10, you can see the third value, last name is Singh. And similarly, you can see age is 30. Just observe the O entry object here. Whenever I press F10, it goes to next line, and you can check the values here. And address, let me check F10 again, and you can see address is Punjab. So that is how you can trace the values at runtime while executing the code. There's a debugger. From there, I was pressing F10 for these values. After entering the values, and you can see those values under debugger screen here. Whatever values you give on screen, it is reflected here. I hope this gives some more clarity when you go for debugging. Hello students, are you getting my point? First run the application in the browser. Then, okay, first put debugger keyword. Add one debugger keyword in your code and run that URL in the browser and press F12, and then use F10 for going to the next line. And each line whenever it is executed, you can trace those values. Each time whenever the code is executed, or each line whenever it is executed, you can trace those values under variables. Okay, so I hope this gives some more clarity. You can try this. First, step 1, enable debugger encoding part. It can be Sap Ui5 or it can be Fiori, whatever. Step 2, run the application in browser. Step 3, press F12. Step 4, press F10 from debugging point. That's it. And then trace the values. You can trace the values of variables or objects, array, or screen element properties, screen element property values. You'll get everything, etc., etc. While practicing, just observe that screen after pressing F12 and F10. So it gives more clarity. And this technique is applicable for both UI5 and Fiori. Okay, so please remember that. Now, okay, let me go to the next topic. For example, you can see there is one new concept that is developing OData ABAP service with view. Did I explain this concept? Hello students. Developing OData ABAP service with view concept. Did I explain this? No. Okay, that's the reason why I'm explaining now. Just follow. It's very simple. So this is possible with mapping. So let me explain that. What I mean to say is whenever you develop OData ABAP services, you can develop your OData services by using a view concept, and you can use view concept along with mapping option. You can use view concept along with mapping, but in our example, I explained like developing OData ABAP service. I've explained like developing OData service with BAPI using mapping. But under mapping technique, not only BAPI, we can also make use of our S11 views, database views, projection views, etc., etc. We can use database views, projection views, whatever is part of S11, those things can be used under OData services under mapping technique if required. So recently I came across this one using database views under mapping. So just let me highlight that also. For example, I want to use two tables here, Z user info, Z user details. These are the two tables I want to use. Table 1 with main field as user ID, user details is another table, for example, table 2 with user ID as a common field between table 1 and table 2. And by using these two tables, I want to develop a view with join condition. So don't forget here, view is view in S11 is to view in S11 is to join the tables. That means two or more tables. I mean to say database tables. So views in S11 is to join two or more database tables. That is the point you are already aware of. Views concept in S11, its main purpose is to join two or more tables while fetching the data. By joining two or more tables for fetching the data. So view concept is same like normal ABAP, but how we use that view? View concept is same like normal ABAP, but how we use that view at OData level, that is important for us. So step 1, create a view in S11. So let me do that here. I'm going to S11 and let me create one view. For example, Z my view 3. You can create a view, 4 I'm creating. And you can create any type of view here. For example, I'm interested in database view, so let me select that. And provide some view name. And here I'm using two tables, Z user info, Z user details. I'm using two tables, Z user info, Z user details. And then, okay, let me write here. Create a view in S11, for example, database view, and provide tables, Z user info, comma, Z user details I'm providing. You can try with standard tables if it is available in your real-time system. Then step 2, provide join option between two tables. So I'm going to join condition. Here I'm providing Z user info, Z user details, but they are connected with a common field, user ID from first table with a matching field in the second table. First table, user ID matching with user details, second table, user ID. So that is how we are applying a join condition here. Between table 1, table 2, we are applying join condition with a common field, that is Z user details, Z user info, both are connected with a common field, user ID. So I can provide this. You can provide like this. Then step 3, provide all view fields for output purpose. Provide all view fields for output purpose. So let me go to view field section here. View field section. Under view field section, I can provide that view field name, for example, user ID coming from first table with field as user ID. And first name coming from first table with first name field. Third field, last name coming from same first table with field name last name. And for example, product name is a fourth field I am trying to retrieve from second table. Z user details is the second table. From that table, I am expecting product name matching with the user ID field between 1 and 2 table. And let me provide that here. And similarly, there is one more field, that is product price from second table matching with product price. So if you closely observe, the data will be combined from these two tables here. The data will be combined from these two tables, and ultimately the data will be displayed with respect to these 5 fields. The data will be displayed with respect to 5 fields. First 3 fields we are getting from first table. Last 2 fields data will come from second table. First 3 fields data will come from first table. Last 2 fields data will come from second table. So that is how you can define. Ultimately, we will be seeing the data which is combinedly getting the data from first and second table. That is the main purpose of any view at data dictionary level. I am not talking about view in UI5, I am talking about view in data dictionary level. View in UI5 is like a screen, but view in data dictionary is to combine the data between 1 or 2 or more tables. View in SE11 is related to combining the data from 2 or more tables. And view in SAP UI5 and Fiori is like a screen. So just better remember that. So ultimately, we can do these things. Let me activate now. Just activate. Let me copy these fields. This is what you need to provide. These are the view fields. and activate. Then step 4, what you need to do. After creating database view, create project in SCGW. That means we are going to create OData ABAP project or OData ABAP service related project in SCGW. Step 5, create entity type and entity set. Create entity type, entity set with ABAP structure equal to, you can provide your view name Z my view 4. Here we have to provide view name because I want to take output fields which is similar to our view which is created in S11. I want to take the fields in OData service which is similar to our database view. So whatever the fields we are taking here, in database view, the same fields I need to refer in OData service for sending these records to front-end application. The same fields you can use it at OData level for sending the records to front-end application. So you can get the fields into OData by referring to the view of S11. So that is what we are trying to do here. You can create entity type, entity set with ABAP structure equal to view name. Then step 6, you can go to service maintenance. You can go to service maintenance and right click your entity set and choose map to data source. So let me do up to here. Go to service maintenance, right click on entity set and choose map to data source. So let me do that. You can go to SCGW. Let me create one project here. Just let me create one project. And there is a project, then right click data model, import from DDIC structure. View is also part of DDIC, so you can use this option to create entity type and entity set. So you can take, for example, user, and you can provide your view name, Z my view 4. We are directly providing our view name, Z my view 4. Whatever the fields available in that view, I want to get it into OData service, so directly you can provide that view name. And you can create entity set here. And then click on next. And you can choose the fields. Don't forget, these are the fields that are coming from 2 different tables. Here you can see our entity type is getting the fields from the database view, and database view contains fields from 2 tables. These are the fields coming from 2 tables here. So please remember that. And then you can choose the required fields here, then click on next. And you can choose one of the field as key field and then finish. So you'll get entity type, and entity type contains the fields from 2 tables here. Entity type contains the fields from two tables, and you can also get entity set here. You can save, and you can go to service implementation. You can go to service implementation, right click your entity set and map to data source. This is the new concept introduced by SAP. In older version, this concept is not possible. In the older version, mapping with database view is not possible. So you can right click your entity set, map to data source, and you can provide your business entity as your view name. You can provide your business entity from DDIC structure or data dictionary, and you can provide your view name here. Just provide view name. Business entity is data dictionary. From data dictionary, I'm using our view as a business entity. So in the interview, they may ask you, what is business entity in our OData? So business entity is nothing but, it can be a view, and that view can come from data dictionary. So then continue, then it will open one screen here. It will open one screen, left and right. Let me write those things. Provide business entity, choose F4 and select data dictionary. Business entity, in our case, it is coming from data dictionary. Then provide business entity name equal to Z my view. So that is nothing but our database view. And continue and finish. That's it. Step 7, generate runtime objects. This is a common story. So code is generated internally. You need not worry about that. Internally according to mapping. Step 8, you can register the service. Step 9, you can test that service with slash service name slash, you can provide your entity set name. So those things will remain same while testing. And this entity set will display records from by joining join condition from two tables. So let me do all the remaining things. But here you have to maintain a mapping. So you have to drag drop under mapping. Maintain mapping between database view fields, maintain mapping between database view fields and OData service of entity type, or entity type of OData service, or I can say entity set, not entity type. So we are going to maintain mapping between database view fields and entity set of OData service. So this is where the relationship is maintained between OData and database view. We are maintaining mapping between database view fields and entity set of OData service. So that means OData service will bring the data by using database view. OData service will bring the data to entity set by executing a database view. So let me do that. I can drag drop here. You can drag drop between view and entity set fields. And you can save it. You can generate runtime objects. You can save, generate runtime objects, then it generates all the classes. It generates all the classes, and you can directly register the service. One second, there is some beep sound. Let me avoid this beep sound. Okay. So let me register the service here and save it in your package. And go to gateway client and test your service. While testing, all these testing things will be same. The testing techniques will be same, whether it is a BAPI or whether it is a database view or whether it is the direct code. You write direct coding, or you can use view concept with mapping, you can use BAPI with mapping, whatever may be inside the code, but ultimately testing techniques will be same from gateway client. So you can choose your entity set here. You can choose your entity set and then execute. Then you can get all the records by executing a database view. You can see that. You can see that, but how exactly you can verify this data? Let me just open the database tables once. We are able to get the data, but how data is displayed? So you can see here now. Let me open two tables and let me open the output. So you can see here, this is one table, set user info. This is a table and it contains first record with 1001 as the ID. 1001 is the ID here in this first table. Just focus on that. And similarly, let me go to another table. Let me open that. Z user details contains product name, product price with user ID as a common field. And these are the records available in second table. Here you can see this. Z user details. And here you can see in first table, there is a record with user ID 1001 here. There is a record with 1001, but 1001 is matching with 7 records in the second table. 1001 is matching with 7 records in the second table here. Then you should get all the 7 records in the output when you're testing. Should get all the 7 records while testing. That is how your join condition works according to ABAP. because 1001 is a matching field between first and second table. And similarly, you can see here 1004. 1004, for example, sorry, 1004, let me check here, 1004, and that field is matching with single record in the second table, then you should get single record in the output for that field, for that value. So let me just check these two values in our gateway client. Here you can see while executing our OData service, you can see 1001 is having laptop with one record, 1001 with laptop with second record, and 1001 with tablet third record, 1001 notebook fourth record, 1001 keyboard with fifth record, 1001 desktop sixth record, 1001 mobile seventh record. So whatever is matching with that 1001, those matching records of second table are displayed here. All these records are displayed. And don't forget, first name, last name is coming from first table. First name, last name is coming from first table, and product name, product price is coming from second table. So similarly, let me go to another one. You can see 1004, something like first name, Sweta, it is matching with one record in the second table, that is desktop. That's the reason why we are getting only single record here. You can see that. So that means you can see here 1004 Sweta, that is coming from first table, but mobile and mobile price is coming from second table. And 1005 is a matching value here between first and second table. Sorry, this is not 1000, this is not 1005. I think we should go with 1004. You can check here. Anyhow, 1004 is also having a single record. You can try it. 1004 with the desktop, and that is what we are getting here. With the desktop, 4 and 4 5s. You can see that. Okay, so that means our database view, after executing database view, whatever records coming via database view, we are trying to bring it into entity set. That is a point. Whatever the records fetched by database view, we are capturing into one entity set, and you know how to make use of entity set in the front-end applications. So what we have done in this scenario is very simple. We have taken two tables here. One second. We have taken something like two tables here, and we have applied a join between these two tables. Two tables with join, and we have generated one database view. We have generated a database view that is in S11. Don't forget that. And this database view is referred in OData service, and we maintained a mapping. This database view we maintained a mapping with our entity set of OData service. This is of OData service. Don't forget that. So because of mapping, the data will come from database view to entity set. So because of mapping, the data is coming from database view to entity set. Don't forget that. Now, what you can do with entity set? What you can do with entity set is you can display the data in front-end application CR. So that's a regular procedure now. I need not tell you how to use entity set in the front end. That approach remains same in case of UI5 or Fiori or whatever other non-SAP development. So this is how things will work. I hope you got some clarity how to use a view in OData and how to maintain mapping and how to test that. Let me save it. So that you can use it. And the procedure is already written here. Okay, students, what you do is just take like a 5 minutes break, then I'll take half an hour more after this 5 minutes. I'll take half an hour session after 5 more minutes. Okay? Don't log off. Hello students, are you able to follow the concept? Debugging, database view, CRUD operations, are you able to follow or not? What about others? Okay. Okay. Who is this? Vishwajit? Okay. Can you see my screen? Okay, so in today's class, we'll discuss about one of the topic that is I-18N resource model. I-18N resource model. So here you can see in our theory screens, if you closely observe our theory screens, which we have understood in the last weekend, in this theory screens, there is some information which is static always throughout the screens and throughout the application. There is some static data which is displayed on this standard screen. For example, you can see here. So purchase orders, this is the static text, and you can see purchase order here, that is a static text. And you can see there is a approve button, and there is a reject button. This is having static text here. So wherever there is a static text for button or a field or a title or whatever, so if there is any static text which is displayed on your screen, so that type of static text SAP is trying to maintain under I-18N resource bundle. So generally we maintain static text or static title or static label, etc. under I18N resource bundle. So I18N means it is nothing but we call it as internationalization. So the full form of this one is I18N, that is internationalization. There are 18 letters between I and N. There are 18 letters here between first letter and last letter in this word. So that's the reason why we are calling it as I18N. So what SAP is going to do is they are maintaining static text, some static title, static labels, etc. under I18N resource bundle file. So here you can see I'm going to Web ID tool. Under that tool you can see there is a I18N folder. Every project contains I18N folder. In that you can see I18N EN. EN means English dot properties file. And they're trying to maintain the static text in the form of key equal to value. You can see key equal to value. They're maintaining static text in the form of key equal to value. You can see here. So here you can see this entire file contains the static text, static labels, static titles, whichever is used in this application. They're maintaining in single dot properties file. You can see reject all, approve all. You can see approve, reject, amount, and you can see OK button text, cancel button text. So they're maintaining here. So what I can say is I just want to change it to our own text. Instead of approve button or reject button, I want to change it to, for example, Oasis approve, Oasis reject. Just for our understanding, I want to provide a different text and let us see whether it will be reflected or not. So I'm just providing Oasis here. You can see here I'm just providing Oasis. Just for our understanding, I'm providing here. For testing purpose. And let us see whether it will be reflected in our screens or not. So I'm trying to save it now. Let us refresh here. And when I refresh, now you can see there is some change in this here. Now we are able to display Oasis beside purchase order. And you can also see something like here also. We are able to change approve button text, reject button text here. So what I mean to say is, if you want to make any changes, to the button static text or title or a label, then you should not go to coding part. You have to change it under I18n.properties files. You have to change it under I18n.properties files. And you can see here, we are able to get this one here also. So they're trying to maintain the static text information in I18n properties file. If you want to change it, don't go to coding part, directly change it in your I18n properties file, and it will be reflected here. You can see that. So in your notes, for testing, go to I18n folder and open I18n underscore en dot properties files. And change text, for example, approve to Oasis approve. Just for our testing purpose, I'm just changing the text. So you can change like this, and you can see the changes when you reload the application. So this is how you can make changes. This is one thing you need to know. So what SAP has done is they maintain the text in the form of key value pairs. I18n properties files maintains text in the form of key equal to value pair. Key equal to value pairs. So that is the approach SAP is trying to use. Now, for example, for our screen elements, the screen elements which we have created for screen elements, I want to maintain in I18n property file, and I want to load it while running the application. So which we have developed, we have also added some screen elements in the standard screen. For those screen elements, if you want to apply I18 technique, then you have to follow this procedure. If required, we can apply I18 technique to our screen elements also. Say, for example, think like this. Here you can see, for example, purchase agent form. You can see purchase agent form. This is what we have provided within the coding part. Purchase agent form that's provided in our coding part. But instead of providing the text in the coding part, I felt that this is a static text. Instead of providing in the coding part, you can also provide under I18 properties file. So let me go to the coding part and let me change it here. Here you can see Here you can see in coding directly we have hard coded that value. Purchase agent form is a static title for my screen. Then why I need to hard code that in the coding part? So instead of hard coding, you can maintain that title text in the form of key value pairs in I18 file. If you want to do that, then you have to follow the strategy. So you can remove that here. And what you need to do is within double quotes, you have to use flower brackets. Within double quotes, you have to use flower brackets and you have to use I18N ampersand GT. That's the syntax you have to follow. Semicolon. You can provide something like title dot title text, for example. Title dot title text. So that means this indicates that our title can be loaded from I18 file. So how to maintain this in I18 file? You can copy this title text and you can go to I18 underscore en dot properties file and scroll down. You can scroll down and here you can maintain title dot title text equal to, for example, purchase agent form. You can do this for all the screen elements. I am explaining for one option. The same technique as it is, you can apply for other screen elements, button text or input label or whatever. So I'm writing purchase agent form. So this is a key equal to this is the value. Technically, that is a key and equal to this is the value. So you have to maintain your text or title in the form of key value pairs in I18 properties file. So let me test it. You can save now. Let us refresh. Now you can see even after refreshing, now I can say this purchase agent form, that is the title, now it is loaded from I18 properties file. I have maintained this text title in I18 properties file. So in the output, you can observe it is loaded from that I18 properties file. So that is how you can use I18 folder. So let's write the procedure here. And maintain something like this. Under view.xml, use below syntax. You can use this syntax for property of screen element. Step 2, under I18 dot properties file, use below syntax and maintain text, something like this. That is equal to, for example, so that is a strategy you need to follow. Very simple. There's nothing much in that. So that's a strategy you can follow for other screen elements also if you feel that text is static. Okay, so that is one interesting point, but simple. And not only that, you can see here, SAP has provided a facility where you can create something like extension project and extensions. Extension project and extension. So let us understand what exactly it is in SAP Fiori. So technically, I can say there will be an application. So there will be a standard existing application or standard existing project. What you can do is you can take that standard existing project, you can take that standard existing project and you can create one extension project. From existing project, you can create one extension project. Extension. From existing project, you can create extension project here. And under extension project, you can create any number of extensions here. You can create any number of extensions. For example, I can say hiding a field, or I can say something like extending a view, or changing I-118 text, or you can replace a service, etc., etc. So you can create any number of extensions here, that is like extension 1, and you can create extension 2, extension 3, extension 4, and 5, etc. Under one extension project, we can create any number of extensions, individual extensions you can create. Under one extension project, you can create any number of extensions. So like this, hiding a field, extending a view, changing I-118 file, replacing a service, etc., etc. All these things comes under different extensions. All these things comes under different extensions here. So you can also use this technique. So this is how it looks like. Under each extension, we can do some changes. Under each extension, we can make some changes here. So let us follow this particular option. How exactly we can do this? So let me write that here. You can see right now, after importing, we got this particular folder. After importing, we got this particular folder. So you can right click this folder, project. And let me write that here. Right click your existing project. and choose new extension project. So you'll get this screen. Just you need to click on next button here and just click on finish. So now this is our existing project and this is our extension project. The two folders available now. This is existing project and this is extension project. You can see all those things. Now, what you can do for extension project, you can create any number of extensions here. Under extension project, you can create any number of extensions. So, hiding a field or replacing a service or changing I-1A10 text, that also comes under different extensions. So let me do that here. Now right click your extension project and choose new extension. So the requirement here is, let me explain one requirement. In this requirement, I want to hide, for example, reject button. Without writing coding, I want to hide reject button, or I want to hide employee ID field. I want to hide reject button and I want to hide employee ID field from the form. So I want to create these two extensions under single extension project. So it's very simple. So now you can see here, you can right click, create a new extension. And it will create one extension. And here you can see, you can hide a control, you can extend a view, you can replace the service, you can change your I-1A10 resource text. You can replace OData service, you can hide the control, you can extend a view, you can write some coding under that controller, and you can change I-1A10 resource text, etc. So these are the different options under extension. So for example, I'm selecting hide control option. So select hide control option. So then click on next here. And what are the views available? Whatever the views available in that application will be available here, the view names. Whichever views are available in this application, those things will be displayed here. You can see that. Main page, purchase orders view, purchase order details view, purchase order summary view. So in my case, I'm just going to purchase order details screen. That means purchase order details view. And in that view, what are the screen elements available? They also will appear here. If I select purchase order summary, those screen elements will appear here. And if I select something like purchase order details, those screen elements will appear here. The screen elements specific to a particular view will appear in the last drop-down box. Whichever screen elements used in the respective views will appear here. And in my requirement, for example, I want to hide reject button, so I'm selecting that. Under purchase order detail screen, I'm selecting something like reject button here because I want to hide that. So you can select screen element, then you can click on next. Very simple. Choose purchase order details view, and for example, select reject button and finish. So you can see now. Now you can see automatically some code will be generated here. Under component file, some code is auto-generated after selecting through wizard. You can see reject button it is treated as visible false, so that code is generated because of we have selected wizard. So when you choose extension, and extensions are created through wizard, and when you select that wizard, automatically code is written under component.js file, and you can see reject button is treated as visible false. Similarly, in the same extension project, I can create any number of extensions. I can create any number of extension in a single extension project. So, for example, think like this. I'm trying to right click new extension here. I'm trying to right click, I'm selecting new extension. So you can see there is a next button, and for example, I'm selecting hide control, and I want to go to purchase order details view. Under that purchase order details view, I want to hide employee ID field. I want to hide employee ID field. So I can select that. EID. EID is the ID of that employee ID field. So you can select that, click on next, click on finish. Now you can see again some code is generated here, and it is also making with visibility false. This is part of first extension, this is part of second extension, and we made visibility as false. The code is auto-generated here. So under view modifications, this is nothing but one extension, and this is another extension. So whenever you create extension, the code is auto-generated here. And don't forget, both these extensions are part of single extension project. Both extensions are part of single extension project. So like that, you can create any number of extensions. What you do is, after the class, just try to use that wizard in different ways. Try to use that wizard in different ways. Okay. So let me write it here. Similarly, you can do all these things. Select employee ID field and then finish. So here the code is auto-generated. The code is auto-generated when we create extension, when we create extensions via wizard. So just notice that. You can also use this option instead of directly go to the coding part. Instead of directly going to the coding part, you can create an extension that you can make whatever changes you want without touching the code, because the code is auto-generated through wizard. So this is also one of the technique you need to notice. And you can see here, okay, let me test it. You can test it after saving. You can save. Now you can see, if you closely observe in the screen, reject button is missing. Only approve button is visible at the bottom. Only approve button is visible at the bottom. Reject button is missing because of extension. And not only that, you can see in this form, employee ID field is missing because of our extension. Employee ID is also missing because of extension. So that is how you can make changes using that wizard. And not only that, SAP has provided one more facility here. Using Web ID tool, we can create Fiori-like apps, Fiori-like custom apps. When we use Web ID tool, it also allows to create Fiori-like custom apps. For example, something like full screen Fiori app or master detail. These are different ways of Fiori apps. There are different types of Fiori apps. Master detail Fiori app. For that, by using that technique, you can create a custom app also. And there is a master detail. Fiori app. For that also, you can create a custom application here. So these are the different templates. Full screen is one template. Using the template, you can develop a custom application. Master detail is one template. Using that, you can create a custom application. Master detail, that's a template. By using that, you can create a custom application. And they look like Fiori screens. So how to do that? You can see now, I'm trying to create one folder. Let us close the screen. I'm going to one folder here. Then you can create some folder named custom Fiori app. So under that folder, you can create a new project from templates. Under that folder, if you right click, you'll get new project from template. New project from template. And you can see these are the different templates given by SAP, and these templates are the standard templates of your Fiori applications. Same template, you can also use it for custom development. So, for example, you can see here, SAP Fiori full screen app, one template. If you select that, some code is auto-generated. After generating the code, you can apply, you can add your own XML tags, you can write your functions in controllers, you can use I1A10 technique, etc., everything after generating the code. So when you use full screen application, some basic functionality will be generated. On top of that, you can add your XML tags to add your screen elements. So I'm selecting, for example, SAP Fiori full screen app, and you can click on next here. Under this folder, So now in this particular app, I want to consume one OData service. In full screen custom app, I want to consume OData service, so you can provide your user details, for example, E1 with OData 123. While practicing, you use this one. User E1, OData 123. So what happens is, whatever the OData services available in your SEGW, that will appear here. The OData services which is available, which is developed in SEGW will appear here. So let me write that here. Step 1, create a project, create a folder. Step 2, under folder, just right click and create and choose new project from template. Right click and choose new project from template. Choose new project from template and you can select, for example, SAP Fiori full screen app, full screen application. That is a template. It's one of the template name in Fiori. And step 3, choose OData ABAP service. You can choose OData ABAP service for consuming in front-end app or in this app. So you So whatever the options we have created earlier, those options will appear here. There is a drop down, you can see that. So there's a drop down and those properties you can see it here. And you can see employee age. So every screen element contains its properties right side. If you want to change, you can also change it here. When you change it here, automatically it will be modified in the coding also. For example, I'm changing this value. For example, something like this one, employee name. I'm trying to change the default value to Suman Kumar. After saving, that value will be reflected in the coding part also. So let us observe here. Let me open the coding part. Under coding, now you can see it is reflected. When you change the properties under layout editor, that will be reflected automatically in the coding part. So you can observe that. So some simple properties, instead of changing in the coding, directly you can open layout editor and you can make changes under layout editor. Just right click here, open with layout editor. Then it will open, I think there is some problem, but this is the option you have to use, layout editor. So you can make some settings or you can make some changes to the properties and those property values will be reflected automatically in your coding part under .xml views. And remember, layout editor is applicable only for .xml views, not for JS files. Layout editor is applicable only for .xml views, not for JS files. So just remember that. Under layout editor, if required, we can make changes to properties of screen elements. So this also is one simple option you need to notice. Changes made under layout editor will be reflected under coding part automatically after saving. Changes made under layout editor will be reflected under coding part after saving that file. So just remember that option also. Now let us think about the deployment procedure. So let me explain the deployment procedure with a diagram. So generally, you can develop an application in Eclipse tool or something like HANA Studio tool, whatever. These both are same. Or you can develop your application in SAP Web ID tool. Say for example, there is a project here. There is a UI5 project. Assume that, for example, there is a Fiori-like application here. ABAP UI5 repository. But So repository, you can deploy here, this one, or you can deploy your Fury project. Assume that you have deployed UI5 project or application, and assume that you have also deployed your Fury application here. So after deploying these applications, what we do is we try to configure these things in a launchpad. We configure these things in a Fury launchpad. It will be deployed in launchpad. That means it will be configured in launchpad here. So from here we deploy. But here we configure. We configure those apps in launchpad. So that means ultimately your launchpad will display your UI5 application and Fury application. This is what happens in real time. And what happens is finally I can say different users will access this application. For example, user 1, user 2, or user 3, or user 4. So different users will be connecting to Launchpad for accessing those applications. Something like this. So this is how things will happen. This is the overall picture. When you develop an application, how the end user will see that application, or how the end user will access that application. So this diagram gives more clarity now. First, develop here. First, develop your applications in different tools like this.